This is me 20 pounds heavier, overeating, super unhappy. And this is me now feeling energized and finally able to not overeat anymore. There was one crazy concept that made that happen for me, and I'm going to share that with you in this video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monja and I'm a licensed nutritionist, and today I want to talk about something that really helped me to stop my overeating and binge eating behavior, and I think it will also really help you, especially if you struggle with things like overeating. And that is the lower brain versus the higher brain eating. Did you know that you literally have two brains? You have a lower brain and a higher brain. So the higher brain is your prefrontal cortex, okay? And that is concerned with your dreams, your goals, your aspiration. This is where your logical thinking sits. This is where you make conscious decisions. This is the part of you that has impulse control, that is planning. That's the part of you that feels calm, grounded, relaxed. When you eat from your higher brain, you're making conscious decisions and food choices that are in line with your goals, that make you feel your best, where you eat to enough, right? Where you don't overeat, where you're just like in tune with your body. Examples of higher brain eating is, for example, mindful eating. Really, really important. So engaging in mindful eating is when you sit down for a meal, you're not running around gulping down food. You have your meal in a bowl. You're not like getting food out of a package or something and like putting it in your mouth. You eat slowly. You put you have a little bowl here. You take a bite and you put down your utensil, and then you take the next bite when you finish chewing. This is a really simple concept of mindful eating, where you're not like. Mindful eating promotes a balanced and controlled approach to eating, and controlled not in like an obsessive way. It's just a way of that you feel in control of your eating, that you're not feel like out of control and like almost like on autopilot. Another example of mindful eating is planning your meals. Think about, what am I having for breakfast? What am I having for lunch? What are we gonna have for dinner this week? And not just like starting the day and being like, oh, I don't know, like I'm gonna eat whatever. You're making decisions depending on your goals and like obviously also what you like to eat, but also to nourish yourself, like to have veggies, to have fiber, to have balanced meals, to have healthy fats, to include protein, really important. And then another example is goal-oriented choices, right? That you make choices that are aligned with your goals. It doesn't have to be a weight loss goal. It can also just be a goal of not feeling stuffed, not feeling gross, not feeling sluggish, not feeling tired, not feeling fatigued, not having anxiety all day, right? All of these things really come down to nutrition, of how we nourish ourselves, right? It might be a goal that you want to feel energized, that you want to feel good about yourself, or it can just be a goal that you want to fit into your jeans again, right? Doesn't matter. It's your goal. It's important that you understand when you eat from your higher brain, it feels calm, relaxed, it feels really aligned to your true self. This is where the overeating and the binging comes in. So the lower brain is our reptile brain, our primitive part of the brain. Our lower brain, really important, is only concerned with three things: seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and conserving energy. Okay, this is a motivational triad, and our lower brain is only concerned with these things. Our lower brain is not concerned with our goals. Our lower brain is not concerned with being the best version of ourselves. Our lower brain is not concerned with eating enough protein. So obviously our lower brain likes to seek pleasure, and our lower brain likes to seek instant gratification and instant pleasure hits that come from this instant dopamine hit of eating something really high palatable, for example, donuts, chocolate, sweets, candy, all of these things, pizza, burgers. When it comes to the motivational triad, it can often go against our goals. And that's why we often feel like we want something, and we also know what to do, right? We're not stupid. Like, you know what to do. You know how to lose weight. You know how to be the best version of yourself. You know how to not procrastinate, right? You know what you will need to do, but you're not doing it. And you're standing in your own way. And this feeling of standing in your own way is because you're listening to your lower brain so much. It feels like you have two personalities, right? That one personality that just wants all these things for yourself and that also believes that you can achieve them and that you have all that potential. And then the other part that is constantly down talking yourself, that is constantly criticizing yourself, that is constantly negotiating with yourself, and your little negotiator comes in. That is your lower brain. So your lower brain is literally driven by urges and emotions, and it is then leading to impulses and excessive overconsumption. Examples of lower brain eating behavior involves, for example, emotional eating. So consuming foods or eating because you don't want to feel a certain emotion or a coping mechanism to cope with a certain emotion. Using food when you're bored, when you're stressed, when you're anxious, when you're sad, whatever, even when you're happy. So you use food to help you regulate your nervous system, and that's a coping mechanism, and that's often harmful. Then habit eating. Your lower brain is also your habit brain, and habit eating is things like you eat when, for example, it's 9 o'clock in the morning and it's breakfast time. You look at your watch and you're like, oh yeah, I need to eat breakfast, but you're not actually hungry. Or you have the habit of always needing dessert after a meal, even though you're not hungry anymore, but you just have to have dessert anyway. That's a habit that you have created. And your lower brain always wants to keep that habit loop going, okay? It gives your brain safety. And our lower brain is obviously wanting to keep you safe. So it's not coming from a bad place, it's just a bit of a dumbass. Another example of lower brain eating is craving. So you have these like sudden, immediate cravings, these urges to eat something really specific. Craving is something that is really, really specific. So this is a difference to hunger. Hunger, you literally can eat anything, but with cravings, you want to eat something very specific. And it's often high sugar, high calorie, high fat. And this behavior is driven by the lower brain's reward center, which want that quick satisfaction, right? That quick dopamine hit. When we give in to these urges to eat something, when we have these intense cravings, it feels really good in the moment because there's this like release, right? But then what happens is you will notice you will feel bad afterwards because it wasn't actually a real pleasure. It was just this fake idea of pleasure, and it feels bad because you are again going against what your true self really wants for yourself, what your true goals are. And that is the disconnect sometimes, right? Where it feels like you're going against your own self. But it's just your lower brain being a whiny toddler. And it's just your lower brain wanting to keep that habit going. But we need to understand that feeling good in the moment is different from feeling good long term. And we want to give ourselves the gift of having a choice of, do I just want to feel good in this particular moment, or do I want to feel good long term? Do I want to feel good the rest of the day? And that is the gift you need to give to yourself, to have that little moment of awareness and really make that conscious decisions. And this is when we step from the lower brain that just wants in the moment into our higher brain thinking, okay? So we can switch. It sometimes feels like that we can't. We feel like we're on autopilot when we're like in our lower brain, but we can. Our higher brain is actually always in control, okay? And we can always have that moment of switch. And the last example of lower brain eating is binge eating. Consuming a lot of high palatable food in a short amount of time. It doesn't have to be high palatable foods, it can also be healthy foods, but most often it is foods that you normally restrict yourself from. And then you just give into the urges because you've restricted yourself. And the urges become so intense, like your lower brain is pushing out these thoughts, and it feels so intense that you have to give in. But we want to understand that the lower brain doesn't have any control over you. It's just thoughts. It's just sentences in your head. It's just suggestions that your lower brain is doing. Like, your lower brain cannot force you to do anything. Your higher brain is always in control, and this is so important when you want to heal your binge eating and overeating, that you understand that. Your lower brain wants pleasure and comfort. That's why food gives us pleasure and comfort. For other people, it might be shopping, it might be sex, it might be other things. But for people who struggle with overeating, it is food. Really important to understand the difference. From eating from your higher brain feels calm, grounded, relaxed, truly joyful. Eating from your lower brain feels rushed, tense, immediate, urgent. It feels like pleasure, but it's not real pleasure. It feels only good in that particular moment, and then it's already over. Whereas if you eat from your higher brain, you can have a donut and it feels so good afterwards. You're like, oh, that was so good. Like, I really enjoyed that. You don't feel guilty, you don't feel shame. When you eat from your higher brain, it's planned, it's something you look forward to. Maybe you go out and do it socially in like a social environment. You meet a friend for coffee and you have a cake instead of like secretly buying a cake and then like eating it at home all by yourself. It really has these like stories that it tells you. It has this like voice that is like, oh, just eat up, don't throw food away. It's not good to throw food away even though you're already full. Anytime it drives you to overeat, that is your lower brain. When it starts to negotiate with yourself whether or not you should eat something, that is your lower brain. Things like, you can start again tomorrow, you can start again on Monday, you can just restrict tomorrow, it doesn't matter. You can just go for a run after. Lower brain. In order to help yourself with overeating, binge eating, you need to be aware of from what part of your brain you are actually starting to eat from, or you're starting to make that decision to eat from. We are not perfect. We cannot always be like higher level beings and always eat perfectly from our higher brain, but it's really just helpful for you to see the difference. And then you can always make a conscious decision. That's, I think, really the gift that you want to give to yourself. You can give into the cravings, but you still want to have that moment of, do I really want this? Is this really what I truly want right now? And if the answer is yes, then at least sit down and enjoy it and give yourself that space without feeling then guilty afterwards. Or sometimes the answer is no, and you don't actually want it. So just giving you that space to think about, am I making that decision now from my higher brain or my lower brain, will help you so much in improving your eating habits or healing your toxic relationship with overeating and eating. So I think it can be a really helpful concept to wrap your head around. Also, to understand that your lower brain chatter will never go away. It will always be there because you have a human brain and the human brain is that we have a lower and a higher brain, but not give that chatter so much power, and just understand that the chatter will be there, but I don't need to listen to it. I don't need to react to it. I can just have it there. It's not giving me orders, just giving me suggestions. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any more questions about lower brain, higher brain eating, generally like creating better eating habits, drop them in the comments below and I'm happy to answer everything, okay? Speak to you soon. Bye!